Hey DevNation, welcome to Mind Dump. This is where this is going to be a new segment where I'm going to go ahead and share an idea, a concept, a quote, a thought, something like that, where I just go ahead and share that with you guys, go ahead and reflect on it. Today, yes, I want to go ahead and actually talk about fear. Now, this quote, after just listening a lot and more so from this morning, reading a lot of Kartikeya's book, Beyond Life Unknown, Life Unknown, that's his other book. Life Unknown. He had a little segment about fear. I had just listened to the other day the song Fear by Kendrick Lamar. And then I also just always had fear in my head because every person I've met, we've all heard about fear. So today I wanted to go ahead and reflect on with a couple of those people on their thoughts and just from what I've learned about them on fear. We're going to go ahead and talk about really the biggest fear we all face as humans, at least to what I've seen so far. So I'm going to go ahead and read you a quote, and then bear with me, it is a little long, but just to give you guys some context on from Kartikeya. So the quote goes, "When fear takes hold of us, we give away our internal power to others." And then so I'm going to go ahead and give some context to that. So with Kartikeya's book, it's really a book about his journey all throughout India and his interactions with other people, and really the journey of finding himself as well. So he goes on beforehand. Hearing the problems of so many people night after another sometimes made me feel sad, not because of what they were going through, but because they weren't willing to face their root causes and quickly gave in to the web of fear. They let their fear decide what they were going to do. I felt deeply compassionate for them, as they could not see that they were entirely driven by fear and were its victims. It was evident that fear was holding them back, as I had been trying to overcome my fears, which had taken me through hell for as long as I could remember. I understood that when fear takes hold of us, we give away our internal power to others. Fear is the most potent weapon humans in power have for controlling other humans, and they have been using it for centuries. When we are fearful, we can be easily persuaded. And so that's the end of the quote. That's the whole thing. And honestly, I would have changed even we can be easily persuaded to be we can easily manipulated. But I guess it's the same thing, right? Easily persuaded, manipulated, sort of the same idea. But I just thought that was really interesting. And notice how in he talks about they let their fear decide what they were going to do. And I think that hints towards, like, again, the biggest fear we've as humans face. So I'm gonna go ahead and give another perspective. So we're looking at my perspective, Kartikeya's perspective, one of my favorite artists, Kendrick Lamar. So now I'm gonna go ahead and share with you Kendrick Lamar. So he talks about, well, in his song Having Fear. If you haven't listened to it, definitely go ahead and go check it out. And so he sort of starts off the song with why God do I gotta suffer? Pain in my heart, carry burdens full of struggle. Why God do I gotta bleed? So pretty much it's him, I guess, talking with God about having to suffer and struggle. And at first he kind of talks about, well, he's more fearful of losing his wealth, having to go back to, I guess, starvation and losing, as he says, losing it all, losing his home, his relationships, his wealth, his fame, all that stuff. But then he goes back to talk about it again, and it's like, why God do I gotta suffer? And then he actually goes on to share with us his biggest fear. And I think this is truly the biggest fear we all face as humans. I mean, again, kind of going away from like the physical world and more internal mental world. His biggest fear at 27, as he says in the lyrics, it goes, at 27 years old, my biggest fear was being judged. And I think that is truly the biggest fear we each face. Our biggest fear is being judged. And I truly believe that. Because, yeah, I mean, granted, if you're struggling with food and whatnot, I mean, I'm not trying to say, that's not, insignificant. But it's more of, I want to focus on with the mindset sort of aspect of fear of the biggest, I think the most common fear, if you will, is being judged. It really is. And it's like, why God do I have to suffer? I mean, it pays homage to God, and I actually didn't know this. I'm not super religious, and no judgment to anyone who is or isn't, whatever, but it's homage to, I guess, the last words Jesus said on the cross, which is, my God, why have you forsaken me? So I think it's something to that realm. Just looking up other people's interpretation of the lyrics and trying to think about it. And it's so true. Like, we all struggle with that fear of judgment. And then another thing from back to Kartikeya is like, and I hope I'm saying his name correctly, but Kartikeya, I noticed as he was traveling, he wasn't scared so much about judgment. Like he never really talked about fear or judgment. He was actually rather enjoying himself. But then when he got back to from his part of his journey to seeing his family, that's when I really noticed, oh wow, like he is also scared of being judged, even though he's been on this quest and journey of, and he's found himself and taken 10-day meditations where he doesn't talk and is completely silent. He is still, I think, at least from what I've found, is like most fearful when he's around his family in a sense. Not because like he hates him or like he loves his family and his family loves him, but it's more of that judgment that sort of gets put on him by his family members, by the people that he knows or holds closest to him, dearest to him. And I thought that was very interesting and very meaningful, to be honest. And another thing I was also looking at, it's sort of a thought I had too, was we each have an internal battle. We each have an internal battle. It's on us to choose if we want to continue walking aimlessly or put the armor on and be a warrior. So that's a concept I was thinking about, because it's like, in a sense, life could be like a battlefield, some days where it's like you're trying to battle and struggle with this fear, right? Because I think fear will always be a part of us as humans. So it's on us to listen to it or to just ignore it and like keep going, put the blinders on, just focus on the different things you want to do in life. So I was kind of thinking like, you're on a battlefield battling it out with fear. And then another part I wanted to share from Kendrick Lamar on fear. He talks about fear of losing out on creativity, right? Because you can either burn out or sort of fade away when it comes to creativity. So in a sense, and I can really connect with that too, because it's like when you're creating, you have some sort of pressure to either create for other people, right? Like you have that potential burnout, or you might fade away because you eventually become irrelevant with your people. But Kendrick Lamar talks a lot about how he just wants to simply create because he is a creator and wants to just embrace himself in a sense. And he goes on, I'm talking fear of missing out on you and me. This is a reference to, I believe, his girlfriend. I don't know if it's now spouse or fiance, or wife or whatever, but his significant other, if you will, is like losing out on the moment because he's so scared of being judged. I don't know if by her specifically, but judged by the world, that he won't allow himself to be himself and enjoy the moment with his partner. And I think, again, that's also really significant, because how many times have we gone out somewhere with family or with a friend or just a parent, whoever, and you try and go out and do something, you kind of don't really enjoy the moment because you're scared of the judgment. You have that fear holding you back of, oh, I'm not going to do that thing that I thought would be funny or interesting because I'm kind of scared of what if they look at me, right? What if they think I'm dumb or stupid? It's like, so I just thought that was very interesting. And then last verse within that is, I'm talking fear of losing loyalty from pride. And so he talks a lot about pride and loyalty and whatnot. It's like, well, yeah, because when you're in fear, at least how I took it was, when you're in fear, you sometimes do things you wouldn't normally do just because you're scared. Again, back to Kartikeya, with fear can be very manipulating, or as he says it, fear makes us easily persuaded. So I just thought that was really interesting. With fear, it can make you do things you don't want to do. So don't necessarily focus on the judgment. And I do want to end it with some hope and optimism of fear, and then not just talk about fear, but leave some hope too. It's like, don't focus so much on the being judged and the judgment of others. Like, as long as you're happy with what you want to do, it's like, that's all you can control. Because Kartikeya, again, also talks about what you can and cannot control. You can't control your thoughts that other people have on you, right? You can't control, again, the judgments that other people have on you or on the world. Well, you can control, and that's what Kartikeya believes you should focus on. And I agree, right? Why focus on things we can't control? We can't control them. It's out of our realm. Focus on the things we can control, which are our own thoughts, our own judgments. Try not to judge, right? And I know it's tough, but because I'm the oldest of 3 siblings, so I really connect. I really judge for quite a long time, so I really connect with a lot of this judgment and stuff like that. Because after reading the Four Agreements, I think I was really transformed through that book of dropping the judgment so much, and sometimes I still find myself drifting back to judgment, but it is not as bad as it used to be. And I think it's because I always wanted the best for my siblings, for my family, and with good intentions, but still judgment in itself can be bad, right? Because again, it adds that pressure. It makes people easily, persuaded, as we said, and causes people to do things they didn't necessarily want to do, but because they feel the judgment and that pressure. Even Kendrick Lamar, someone who's, again, so big and famous and so great with his creativity and words and whatnot, we all struggle from this biggest fear of judgment, fear of being judged. So, and I think it's also important to mention, be cautious of judging yourself, right? So for years, I told myself, actually, for years, I was taking a look at my notes. For years, I always told myself I wasn't creative, because growing up, I was always known as like the smart one. I was known as the studious one, if you will, even though now in university, it's like, I'm in university, but that's another topic anyways. But it's like, I always tell myself, oh, I'm not a creative person, I'm not this, I'm not that, I am this person. It's like, no, like, you don't have to judge yourself so hard easily, like, so hard as well. It's like, I think the best way to overcome this judgment of ourselves as well is to simply listen to ourselves. Take some time out of the day, 5-10 minutes every day, either meditate, stretch, whatever, and listen to, sort of reflect, is what I mean by listen. Reflect on what you have done, reflect on what you found positive, what you found negative. Maybe ask yourself, why did I find this positive? Oh wow, I tried this new thing of creativity and I actually really enjoyed it. Well, I didn't think of myself as a creative person. Well, why did I enjoy this? Oh wow, maybe I am creative. And I think every human really is. We just haven't found it yet. For some of us, right? Like, or we're continuing to find it. Grows and develops. We're human. We evolve. Again, another story, another topic. But don't put so much pressure on yourself. Like, don't be afraid to try something new if you find yourself enjoying something new. Not pivoting. I can't stand the word. It's like evolving over time of, oh, I like this new thing, so go ahead, embrace that, try it out, see if you go further and you end up actually loving it, or it's just like a quick fling thing of you enjoyed it but you don't like the full depth of it. That's fine. We're all human, so we're going to continue to evolve and change, but don't allow the fear to hold you back. I mean, you've heard it from me, you've heard it from Kendrick Lamar, you've heard it from Kartikey Alada, all great names. Well, I guess, company excluded, but I guess, thank you. joke, but don't let fear hold you back. I guess that's the biggest message, because everyone has fear. So don't let the fear of judgment, the fear of others, hold you back from who you truly are and who you really, truly can become. Thanks for tuning in, guys. Catch you on the next one.